Today, Saudi Arabia is well known as the oil hub in the Middle East. However, the nation did not become such a giant superpower overnight. Saudi Arabia's oil problem dates back to the early 20th century when oil was first discovered in the region. Before that, Saudi Arabia was largely an agrarian society with a small population and limited resources. The discovery of oil in the 1930s changed the fortunes of the country forever. Today, Saudi Arabia is one of the largest oil-producing countries in the world, with oil revenues accounting for a significant portion of the country's GDP. The history of oil in Saudi Arabia began in the early 20th century when American geologists discovered large reserves of crude oil in the eastern region of the country. This discovery was a turning point for the region, transforming Saudi Arabia from a relatively poor agrarian society into one of the wealthiest countries in the world. The story of the discovery of oil in Saudi Arabia is extremely interesting. It all started in the 1920s when the Standard Oil Company of California, which is now popularly known as Chevron, began exploring for oil in the Middle East. The company was interested in finding oil in the region to support its growing operations in California, which was at the time one of the largest oil-producing regions in the world. But it was not until 1938 when a group of American geologists working for Standard Oil struck oil at a well known as Daman No. 7. This well was the first major oil discovery in Saudi Arabia and one of the largest in the world at the time. The discovery of oil at Daman No. 7 set off a rush of exploration activity in the region as other companies began searching for oil in Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia was founded as a kingdom earlier in 1932, with Abdul Aziz Al Saud as its first king. The discovery of oil brought enormous wealth to the country, and the Saudi government was quick to establish a national oil company known as Saudi Aramco to manage the country's oil reserves. Initially, the Saudi government was a minority partner in the company, with foreign oil companies owning the majority of the shares. However, in 1973, the Saudi government nationalized the oil industry, taking control of Saudi Aramco and asserting its sovereignty over the country's oil resources. Since then, Saudi Arabia has been one of the largest oil producers in the world, with oil exports accounting for the vast majority of the country's export earnings. We are sure that you must realize how important oil can be for a country. Analyzing Saudi Arabia and the impact of oil on the country, let us break it down for you. The discovery of oil in Saudi Arabia has brought significant benefits to the country, transforming it from a relatively poor agrarian society into one of the wealthiest countries in the world. The discovery of oil in Saudi Arabia has brought enormous wealth to the country, generating billions of dollars in revenue each year. The oil industry is the backbone of the Saudi Arabian economy, accounting for the majority of the country's export earnings and a significant portion of its GDP. According to the International Monetary Fund, IMF, oil exports account for more than 70% of Saudi Arabia's export earnings and approximately 50% of its GDP. Isn't that absurd? The wealth generated by the oil industry has enabled the Saudi government to invest in a range of projects and initiatives aimed at boosting economic growth and development. Over the past several decades, Saudi Arabia has invested heavily in building modern cities, airports, seaports, highways, and other infrastructure, which has helped to create a more modern and connected society. This has made Saudi Arabia a highly attractive destination for foreign investment and business, contributing to the country's economic success. The revenue generated by the oil industry has also enabled the Saudi government to provide generous subsidies to its citizens. These subsidies include free education, healthcare, and housing, as well as a range of other social welfare programs, including unemployment benefits, pensions, and disability support. These subsidies have helped to improve the standard of living for many Saudi citizens, contributing to the country's overall stability and prosperity. There's absolutely no doubt in claiming that the influence Saudi Arabia has acquired in the recent years has been due to its firm hold on the oil supply. The enormous wealth generated by the oil industry has given Saudi Arabia significant international influence. As one of the largest oil-producing countries in the world, Saudi Arabia is a key player in the global oil market and has significant diplomatic and economic influence in the Middle East and beyond. Saudi Arabia's oil industry has enabled the country to play a leading role in shaping regional and global economic policies. As a major oil producer, Saudi Arabia is a member of the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, which is a powerful organization that controls a significant portion of the world's oil supply. Through OPEC, Saudi Arabia has played a key role in coordinating oil production and setting prices, which has significant implications for the global economy. Saudi Arabia's oil industry has also given the country significant economic leverage on the international stage. The country has used its oil wealth to invest in a range of industries around the world, including technology, real estate, and finance. This has enabled Saudi Arabia to build strategic partnerships with countries and companies around the world, which has helped to expand its global influence. However, it is not as beautiful as it seems for Saudi Arabia regarding its oil industry. The oil industry of Saudi Arabia has been doing as much damage as good, if not more. Saudi Arabia's heavy reliance on oil exports makes it vulnerable to fluctuations in global oil prices, which can have significant consequences for the country's economy. In recent years, the global oil market has been volatile, with prices fluctuating widely in response to changes in supply and demand. This has had a significant impact on the Saudi economy, which has seen its budget deficits rise in response to falling oil prices. When oil prices are high, the Saudi economy experiences a surge of revenue, which enables the government to invest in infrastructure and social welfare programs, leading to rapid economic growth and development. However, when oil prices fall, the Saudi economy suffers, and the government may need to cut back on spending, which can lead to a slowdown in economic growth. However, this is not the only problem. The oil industry has created political tensions between Saudi Arabia and other countries in the Middle East and beyond. Saudi Arabia's role in the global oil market has given it significant influence on the international stage, which has led to tensions with other countries that are also major oil producers. One of the key sources of political tension related to Saudi Arabia's oil industry is its role in the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC. OPEC is a powerful organization that controls a significant portion of the world's oil supply, and Saudi Arabia is one of its key members. Through OPEC, Saudi Arabia has played a key role in coordinating oil production and setting prices, which has significant implications for the global economy. Other countries, particularly those that are not members of OPEC, may view Saudi Arabia's influence in the organization as unfair and may feel that the country is using its power to advance its own interests at the expense of other countries. To tackle the problems associated with its heavy reliance on oil exports, the Saudi government has implemented a number of policies aimed at diversifying the economy and reducing dependence on oil. These policies are part of a broader initiative called Vision 2030, which was launched in 2016 with the goal of transforming Saudi Arabia into a more diversified, sustainable, and modern economy by the year 2030. One of the key goals of Vision 2030 is to diversify the Saudi economy away from oil and into other sectors, such as renewable energy, tourism, and technology. To achieve this goal, the Saudi government has launched a number of initiatives, including the establishment of new economic cities and the creation of a sovereign wealth fund to invest in non-oil sectors. Saudi Arabia's oil problem is a complex issue that has both benefited and challenged the country. While the discovery of oil has brought enormous wealth and development to Saudi Arabia, the heavy reliance on oil exports has made the country vulnerable to fluctuations in global oil prices, environmental impacts, and concerns about long-term economic sustainability. We hope that this video opens your eyes towards the major problems that Saudis encounter with its oil industry. Let us know what you think of the oil crisis and how can Saudi Arabia gain control of such massive fluctuations. If you like this video and would want to learn about similar dark truths of other massive nations, make sure to subscribe to our channel.